Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. It is your first horror movie news episode of October 2020. It is the Octoberthon. We are here to say hello, celebrate, and inform you on news like we do every week. What's funny actually, 'cause obviously I'm Peter, that's Tim. This is a horror movie podcast, and this is our news edition specifically that we do most weeks. What's funny is that last year during the Octoberthon, we kind of started doing this on its own. And that was kind of like what ended up becoming the regular, just the news as a separate show thing. Last year it was kind of like a special thing, whereas this year it's just business as usual.
That is funny.
Yeah, okay. First up, hey Tim, do you want to pay for a new streaming service?
I don't think I pay for any of the ones I have now.
Don't admit to that on a show, Timmy.
Well, no, I just like everything is like either my brother's account or my mom's account. I pay for I do pay for Shudder. That's the one place that always gets my money. It's the only place that's worth it.
Well, this one might seem worth it, honestly, for you, because Arrow Video are launching a streaming service.
Oh, okay. I think I heard about this.
Yeah. So it's US and Canada only for now, which is funny because Arrow's actually a UK-based company. Although that said, they technically have a streaming service in the sense that they have an Amazon channel, which kind of functions as one. But they're officially launching a streaming service on October 1st. This happened. So then they've got a library of movies here, some of which you kind of expect, some of which are maybe kind of surprising. But yeah, so they've got a whole bunch of movies coming with this. I'm trying to see if it gives me a price. I assume you can go check what the price is now, given that it's thing. Oh, here we go. You can get a 30-day free trial, which seems quite good for October, if you want to just dive in for that. But it's $4.99 a month or $49.99 annual. A UK rollout is planned in 2021, so it's interesting that the US gets it first, given that Arrow is a UK company. But hey, I guess the stars aligned for the rights of things and whatever. So yeah, I mean that's interesting. Because I mean you gotta assume that the stuff they're gonna have is probably the stuff they have, Blu-rays and DVDs of, or I don't know, does Arrow make DVDs? I've only ever bought Blu-rays from them, but they used to, at least. I mean, a lot of the releases I have a DVD in the box as well. They do a lot of dual format stuff.
So yeah, it's kind of weird because you imagine that the streaming service will probably be those titles, but the thing is, whenever they do have like a good title I want to watch, I kind of rather would buy the Blu-ray.
I think
so. I don't know. It's a little strange. I mean, it's a great price point though.
The price is good. I think one of the things to look at here is that sometimes their discs might go out of print, but they still have licensing rights for digital streaming. Or sometimes they'll get digital rights for something that because it's cheaper than getting the physical rights, so they'll have it on their service but not on a disc. I think this is what's interesting here is that you probably get a lot of movies that have been on Shudder before, and this is going to be kind of your. Back in the 90s when you had two movie channels and they'd kind of be swapping movies a little bit, but I can actually tell you what the library is. I'll quickly rhyme these off. The day one library, they've got it into sections. So they've got Arrow October, right, which is The Deeper You Dig, The Hatred, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Crumbs, Cold Light of Day, Video Man, The Herschel Gordon Lewis Feast, right? And then they've got various sections here. They've got one that's Edgar Wright Selects, which is basically him picking a bunch of Arrow movies, which I don't know how they wrangled this, but that includes Audition, Blood and Black Lace, Death Walks at Midnight, Death Walks in High Heels, Deep Red, Don't Torture a Duckling, Hellraiser, Henry George Clouseau's Inferno. Oh, I like that director. Lee Plaisir, Psychomania, Reanimator, Ringu, Schlock, The Cat o' Nine Tails, The Crazies, The Fifth Chord, The Forbidden Photos of Lady Above Suspicion. That's The Stuff, Torso, What Have You Done to Solange? I've seen some of those. And then you've got Tooled Up, which says Power Tools and Blood Splatters. Just call it a slasher section. Why'd you have to come up with some fancy title? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that was in the other one as well. Microwave Massacre, The Driller Killer, Edge of the Axe, Blood Rage. Oh, that's a quality film. That Blood Rage is a great movie. The Wizard of Gore. Oh, that sounds good. I've not seen it, but it sounds good. Doom Asylum, Why Don't You Just Die, The Mutilator, The Gore Girls, Whitefire, and Auditions there again. And I've got Midnight Movies, which includes Video Man, Tetsuo the Iron Man, The Cold Light of Day, Crumbs, Dumbest at Dawn. Sorry, Deadbeat at Dawn. Where did I get Dumbest from? La Grande Buffet, Evil Ed, Story of Sin, Sister Street Fighter, Ivan Six. I don't even know what the title's supposed to be. The Swinging Cheerleaders, Warning from Space, Inferno of Torture, The Baby, Vampires, and The Coming of Sin. So there's a couple of overlap in some of those sections. I mean, it's not a huge library, but it's. I mean, given that it's just starting, if you've not seen at least half of those for $5, it's not too bad.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, I mean, I could see myself like dipping in and out of this, like maybe, yeah, like you said, especially for October, it's pretty good, and you can kind of check some stuff off that you might have not seen before, or maybe haven't seen in a while, and then like. Yeah, I can see myself maybe dipping in and out, like if there's a month where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd like to check that out. And, it's like, if you have something that it's like, well, this would cost $5 to rent on its own, or I can, pay for a month of this and then watch this and maybe a few other things. Like, I mean, you might as well do that.
We'll have to see what sort of quality it is, because one of the things against Shudder is that Shudder's still only 720p. So there's actually a lot of room for this to be a higher quality service. So that could be a benefit of it. And I think maybe what will be interesting is in a year or two's time, if this is successful and it keeps growing, do they start getting like exclusives like Shudder? Because Shudder has a lot of foreign movies and stuff that are exclusive to the service. Does Arrow start doing that as well? Does it really become a good, like, maybe the competition's good for us because we'll have two. I mean, because they're both relatively cheap services. Like Shudder's only like the same price, or maybe a little bit more.
I think it was like $5 a month for a long time. I think they might have just raised it to like $6.99 or $5.99 recently, or maybe it was $5.99. They raised it to $6.99. Like, they did raise it a bit like in the last couple of months, but I think it's still super cheap. And again, they keep getting more and more stuff and a lot of original content, so it's worth it. And I do like these video services where it does actually feel curated versus like
maybe not.
Netflix and Hulu is just like throwing everything in there, just whatever.
I would say it's maybe not curated in terms of quality, because there is definitely crap that goes on to Shudder. Sure. But at least in the sense, I do like the idea that if it appeals to your taste, like, okay, you like horror movies, so you get the horror streaming service. I think the problem with like Amazon and Netflix sometimes is that people expect it to be a catch-all of everything, and then get mad in October why there's not enough horror movies. I'm like, yeah, but there's like 2 or 3 horror services now. You could get one of them, and you're good for the month. Like, totally. I do like it being a bit more focused. I'd love a sci-fi streaming service, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't one.
Maybe even something they can bundle. Like, let's say AMC do one, like, something you could maybe get as a package with Shudder. Kind of like the old movie channel days. Where like, hey, I'll take the horror and the sci-fi package, whatever.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The other thing, it's like kind of like a small thing, but like sometimes with these things, it does depend on how you can watch it too. Like if it's something that's only on your computer, I don't like. I don't watch stuff. I just have like a
Shudder,
small laptop,
Yeah, Shudder had a period where that was a problem. Shudder took a while before it got into, and it's still not on the PlayStation. You have to use either a Fire Stick or a Roku, or it is on the Xbox, I think now, but not PlayStation.
Xbox, it's on. They said they were gonna come on PlayStation, but I don't know whatever happened, because like, it was like a year or two ago. Like I tweeted at them like saying like, hey, what's up with why isn't it on PlayStation? They said they were working on it, and then like it's one of those weird tweets where like every couple of months I'll get like someone will respond to it like a year later or whatever, like someone will be like, hey, like what's going on with this? Why isn't this here yet? But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is, but I'm lucky now that I have I have an Apple TV, which it's on there, so thank God, because I would not want to have to always watch it on my computer.
Yeah, I don't have an Apple TV. I like the idea of an Apple TV because apparently the streaming quality is the best of all the various like rental places. But this is coming to iOS and tvOS, which is Apple TV, Android devices, Fire TV, Roku, and obviously web browsers. So it's not coming to the console straight away, but it's coming to all the main like streaming sticks and boxes that you can get. Okay. So, and Android's a good one because a lot of like smart TVs run on Android, so it means that they'll just get it. You can just search for it and get it that way. But so it's a decent coverage. So we'll see. A month free trial's not bad though.
Oh no, totally, yeah.
Because Shudder, I'm pretty sure with Shudder, you get one. It's like either a week or maybe 14 days. You get free.
Yeah, Shudder's always been pretty generous. I mean, again, I've had it for so long now, but I remember when it first came out. I think I had it for a bit, and then after like a month or two, I kind of got off of it, and they were very nice, and they were like, "Hey, no, if you want to stay, like, we'll give you like a month-long trial if you want to keep at it." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And
yeah, I've definitely had a few free months off of Shudder when I've tried to leave, and they're like, "Hey, stick around." Like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still like that, because I think it was like early on when they were just starting out and probably a bit more desperate. I think they, have a like a little more cachet now.
Hey,
but
I would happily pay a couple extra dollars per month if it meant bumping up to at least 1080p with a higher bit rate. Like I totally would. I'm all about the quality. But it is nice to have these bouquets of movies to try out that are specific to the genre. It doesn't solve the issue of wanting to watch a specific movie that just happens to be nowhere at any given time, which is why I think making sure things are available for rental or physical media are still really important, because things are always going to like shift in and out of these services. But hey, maybe Arrow will start having exclusives that'll be permanent, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. It's interesting that all the boutique labels are starting, because Criterion has a streaming service. We're seeing them shift to like have this as well as their physical media that they're putting out, and it really does feel like things are changing where, even if I don't want to buy this anymore, I can still experience Arrow's offerings to an extent via this potentially. So I definitely see it as something I'll dip in and out of as well. And I don't know if I need it for this October. There's enough on Shudder I've not seen yet that I don't think I'll probably need it, but who knows, maybe I'll be tempted.
Yeah, just going by the list of stuff that you rattled off, I think most of it I've either seen or already own.
I think there's a handful. There's probably a good like 10 or 12 things in there that I would want to watch that I've not seen yet. That would more than justify the $5. But
yeah,
will I have time to get to it on top of everything that I've still not watched from Shudder? Probably not.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I was like really like hard up for stuff to watch, maybe. But I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, competition's good though. As much as it's a pain possibly having an extra service, competition is good. So here's some bad news though. Terrifier 2 has been delayed.
Oh yeah.
Because of the pandemic related issues that's happened. It was maybe coming out just in time for Halloween. We were kind of looking forward to it, of course, because we liked the first one a lot. But on this week, the official Facebook page, the director, Damien Leon, provided an update. And because of production setbacks, because of the thing is, they're going to... the new goal is to have it completed by early 2021. So whether or not they want to hold it off until next October if it's still set at Halloween, because they want to have it tie into the season, or do they put it out in spring? We'll wait and see. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Obviously, no need to rush it. If see, like I kind of assumed that it was already done or pretty close to being done. But yeah, I mean, if they still have stuff they need to do or film or whatever, it's like it's a bummer, but yeah, better that they wait and play it safe, and then we get it when we get it.
Yeah. Speaking of pandemic related things though, Scream 5 or whatever we're calling it has actually, within days of starting shooting, has 3 crew members who have tested positive for the thing, which we still can't say on YouTube, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. So interestingly though, they're not actually shutting down production. They're going to be continuing on Monday as planned. And you're probably thinking, that sounds really irresponsible. What are they doing? Well, it turns out that they've kind of arranged it in a way where everyone's working kind of in pods. So the 3 people who have been tested positive, like that pod's not going to be back to work on Monday, but all the other pods, including the main pod that has the cast and all that in it, aren't affected. So it actually sounds like they kind of arranged it, or rearranged production in a way where they can kind of have people in any separate groups in case there's a breakout somewhere. They can kind of be like, okay, these groups can still keep working. These groups will be back in a couple of weeks when they've been cleared and quarantined and all the rest of it. That's kind of smart, I guess, but...
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I still feel like, I don't know, like, maybe just wait. But, I mean, whatever. I mean, people really want to get back to work.
Yeah, I think at some point the people just have to get back to work and keep making things again.
It's gonna like be like so morbid though. Like imagine if someone like dies.
Oh
Like
yeah, that's good.
like I don't know. Like it's gonna be weird watching the movie. Knowing that like, wow, this movie sucks and someone died because of it.
Yeah, that said, though, there are movies where a stunt person died, like in a stunt, and
Sure.
I don't know if that ever really enters into our thought process too much when we're watching the movies themselves.
I mean, when it's like a high profile thing, when it's like the star of the movie, like obviously The Crow is, the big example of that. Like it's hard not to think about that. But yeah, I mean, if it's, a movie where maybe it's, like some more random person that you don't really know or have heard too much about, then yeah, you might not think about it. But yeah, it still sucks.
Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, I mean, I guess the other way to look at it as well is that all the people who work in the movie industry also need to like earn a paycheck as well, and they've not been working for several months. So
Yeah.
arguably, there is a reason why they would want to do this. It's not just the studios being greedy assholes and saying, "Hey, you all have to work."
Sure.
Like, there's a reason why the people working also want to get back to work as well. So, I mean, I don't know if everyone's on board. Maybe there's some people who still say, you know what, I'd rather play it safe. But I mean, presumably they're still just sitting out. If they can afford to sit it out, then presumably they are. But I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, no, like totally. I don't really blame the movie people as much as like, are just, not to get too political, but just like the government really mishandling it. And, obviously I don't really have any big answers, but I'm sure there's, ways that you can offer like, relief and stuff to people and kind of, like freeze rents and all these different other kind of things to, make sure people can quarantine safely. But nope, haven't really been doing that. So thanks.
Well, all the lockdowns are starting to happen again because we're hitting second wave
Surprise
territory.
Yeah.
One of the biggest movie theater chains in the UK this week said they're basically shutting completely until April because Bond being delayed was kind of the nail in the coffin of their business, and they're legitimately just getting rid of like 5,000 staff members.
Jeez, yeah.
Like it's just so we're in a rough place with this stuff for sure.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that's what it is. So that is Scream. Just a little bit of production stuff there. So moving on to some other stuff that's going on. Abigail Breslin and Thomas Jane. Breslin, of course, from Scream Queens, in Zombieland. She was a kid in the first one and then an adult in the second one. Although I've not seen the second one because I didn't really care. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the first one. So they have joined a film, which also stars Malin Ackerman, who was already announced for it. It's a comedy horror called Slayers.
Okay.
Now I wonder, will they be Slayers as in vampire slayers, much like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Let's find out, shall we?
Okay.
The film follows a group of internet influencers who are drawn to a reclusive, seductive billionaire's mansion, only to find themselves trapped in a lair of evil vampires. Yeah.
Hey.
The only way out is to be saved by a famous online gamer. What is this movie? A famous... Is this like a Twitch star comes to save them? And an old school vampire hunter, played by Thomas Jane. So...
okay. I thought Thomas Jane was one of the influencers.
No, I think he's the old school. I think he's a bit too old to be an influencer. Sure, see, in like 30 years when we're all like that old, like, yeah, there'll be influencers who have aged up and we'll have like 50, 60-year-old influencers who are like, I remember in my days when Twitch was just brand new and all the rest of it. And Tim still won't have figured out how to stream anything to Twitch.
No, not at all.
Although people, I was trying to talk him into doing some co-op streams soon this week, so it might happen. I mean, he won't be streaming it. I'll be the one doing the streaming, but he'll be there on and playing and talking. In theory.
Yeah. In theory.
I'm not buying the shitty game that I suggested though until he commits to it as well. I'm not going to be left with that egg in my face. It's not happening. So. Yeah, so this is them joining Slayers is the name of the film, and that's the premise.
Could be interesting. I mean, big Thomas Jane fan. It's the I mean, the premise sounds kind of cheesy, but I mean, given the right tone and like director and stuff, it could be fun.
I think both Thomas Jane and Abigail Breslin have proven themselves in the realms of comedy. In fact, hell, Abigail Breslin has proven herself in horror comedy specifically with Scream Queens. So,
yeah, totally.
I mean, admittedly, maybe I'll be disappointed the whole time she's not playing Chanel number 5.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But that's Slayers. So, moving on. Ben Wheatley, a director who you may be familiar with, who has worked on Kill List, Sightseers, Free Fire, High Rise, A Field in England, which I actually just watched recently. He's actually revealed that he made a movie during the pandemic, and it's done. He's actually got the remake of Rebecca coming up, which is coming. It's a Netflix movie. It's coming out on October 21st, which is more of a thriller than anything else. But Hitchcock done an adaptation of Rebecca way back in the 40s, which is a pretty solid movie. So I don't envy Wheatley trying to live up to Hitchcock. That's a bit of a tall order. But yeah, apparently he's also making the Tomb Raider sequel. Okay. Right? Which is a weird tidbit because I've forgotten this, because he's such a weird choice for like an action movie sequel. If you look at his movies, they're all these like really gritty little either horror, satire comedies. They're, A Field in England was kind of a weird, almost David Lynch-esque like acid trip. He's not exactly who I think of when I think of, Lara Croft is jumping off buildings and or cliffs and shooting things. But anyway, so yeah, he revealed that he shot a movie during quarantine. It was shot across 15 days, and there's no title yet. It's untitled, right? So, Wheatley describes the film as a response to the ongoing crisis, the result of the datedness that he perceived in titles released on VOD that couldn't take the new status quo into account. It is a micro-budget film, and will be, coming sometime in the near future. So Ben Wheatley just made a movie.
Cool. I look forward to watching this movie I know nothing about.
I mean, are you familiar with any of his other films? Have you seen?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I've seen.
Oh, really? You've not seen any of these?
No, I might have seen Sightseers if it's one I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so the couple goes on like a sort of like road trip and.
Yeah, it's an English movie, right?
Yes, yes. A lot of his films are, because I think... I think the exception to that is Free Fire, which was a bit more of an all-star cast. It was probably his most mainstream movie now that I think about it. But...
Sightseers I'm pretty sure I saw, but I think that's it. And, I'll be honest, I don't remember too much about it.
I think that's fair enough. But... So, I mean, I think he's a talented filmmaker whose films I respect, even though they don't always completely hit the mark for me. Like, I think there's a lot of things I like about Sightseers and Kill List and A Field in England. Not so much High Rise. But they also, I think, some of them fall a little bit short of being, like, great for me, where I don't necessarily like where they go plot-wise, but I do think they're exceptionally well-directed. So, I mean, I'm intrigued what he shot out in 15 days, and... if anything, I'd imagine it's probably closest to A Field in England, just because that was similar. That was like that was like 4 actors in a field, like the whole movie. So I imagine that was his comparative micro-budget film. So there you go. So Ben Wheatley's got another surprise movie coming out on top of everything else that he's doing. Next up, we have Mickey Rourke and Taye Diggs have signed on to star in Mammon, which is directed by Isaac Walsh. The movie follows a struggling young couple who are chasing the American dream and soon realize that their worst nightmare is the demonic spirit in their new home, which is the most generic description of a horror movie I have ever goddamn read.
I mean, I guess Mickey Rourke and like Taye Diggs are good actors, but I don't think they're necessarily like someone that or people that get me excited to watch something,
I think that's fair.
Yeah. like it definitely doesn't turn me off to a movie, but I'm not like, whoa, the new Mickey Rourke movie.
is Mickey Rourke going to play the ghost of Whiplash from Iron Man 2?
Perhaps.
He's going to come out the walls and go, I found my bird. I found my bird.
Maybe they'll reprise his role as a projectionist from Nightmare Cinema.
I can't quote him from that his character in that movie. You kidding me? And I like that movie, but those wraparounds were pointless.
Yeah. I like the idea of them, but they ultimately just kind of ended up being nothing. Yeah. I don't know. It could be cool, but again, I mean, just initially hearing about it, it's not like anything too groovy.
Nothing too groovy. That's the official stance for Tim. All right, last up on the show this week, then we're going to talk about one trailer that popped up this week. There was a bunch of other ones we could have dived. We got a lot to record today though, so I kept it strict to the big sort of the named trailer, and that is The Craft Legacy, which also had the news this week that it's coming very soon. It's coming on October 28th, and it's going straight to VOD. And it's coming, and it turns out that it is actually an in-continuity sequel of sorts to The Craft. So, but obviously,
which I don't think we knew that before, right?
I don't think so.
I was under the assumption it was a remake, or I assumed it was.
Yeah, I think reboot's obviously the correct term, because I think there's like a little Easter egg that ties it into the original film in the sense that it's in the same world. This happened 20 plus years ago, but all the characters in this are new, and everything it's doing is, it's still replaying some of the beats seemingly. But the plot of The Craft is a new girl in town meets up with 3 established friends who are into witchcraft, and they end up doing witchcraft together. And it goes too far. They start going more extreme with it, and the revenge they take on bullies and things like that starts to get a little bit dark and violent. And that's the basic premise. What did you think of the trailer for The Craft Legacy?
I'm a little bit mixed. I wouldn't say I was super excited. There was a couple of things that made me kind of roll my eyes, but I think there was enough there that I'm at least still interested. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it a chance. It's been a long time since I've seen the original, but I actually did like it. Like growing up, I have no idea if it holds up.
I mean, I didn't grow up with it. I saw it for the first time like a few years ago and really didn't get anything out of it. It was kind of one of those things where I feel like if you grew up with this and had nostalgia for it, otherwise it's like this really off-putting 90s thing.
Yeah.
Like I felt really 90s as I was watching it. I'm like, oh, I feel a little bit icky with how 90s this is.
Yeah.
So I think that's the weird thing about this trailer for this new one is that, say what you will about the original, it did have a feeling to it. It had a style because it was going for something very specific. This just looks like any other movie like that's made today.
The stuff that put me off on it was like when she like shoves like that guy with the locker. It's like, all right, like I don't want to see like a superhero movie, like I don't like it it seems like any kind of thing you'd see like when the superhero origin, where they're like, whoa, I got powers now, and then like stuff like just like literally doing the exact same line from the first movie, like that first movie has that kind of, I guess maybe somewhat iconic part or whatever, where that person's like, hey, watch out for weirdos or whatever, like Mr. We are the weirdos, and it's like they do. It's fine to like pay like an homage to something, but it's like it's always weird when you have a character that's like, oh, you're just literally saying the exact same thing,
Yeah.
And then also like, I can't help but roll my eyes anytime a trailer now does a thing where they take a pop song and they slow it down to try and be creepy. Not that it doesn't always work. Like sometimes it's cool and it's like, oh, I do like hearing this version of the song, but it's just like we've seen this so many times or heard it so many times.
I concur. I do actually like most of these covers they do, because like,
yeah.
I mean, I hated the movie, but the Gallows, when that came out, or was it the Gallows 2, whatever one it was, had the piano slow moody version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it's actually a really good song. It's a really good version of that song. And I do think some of these like other epic or slow versions they put in, and it's not even just horror movies, like every genre's doing this, like
it's just like the thing now.
We mentioned the Tomb Raider sequel. The first Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander had Destiny's Child, I'm a Survivor playing, and it was like this slow moody cover. It's like, I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it. Da, 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 da. And, So this is definitely something that they're doing a lot. And just like it's become a new trailer trope, is doing the old song
Yeah.
but with a new sort of moody cover. I like hearing them, but it does make me. I agree. It's kind of a trope at this point in the trailers themselves, but I'm just kind of like, okay, you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
In this case, it's girls just want to have fun. Just
Yeah. But the I mean, that stuff aside though, like there was I think like a few bits and pieces that I thought like looked kind of cool, and it looks like a pretty decent cast. I'm not really too familiar with the young actresses, but they all seem pretty good, and I love David Duchovny, so it was cool seeing him in there. So um yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like super pumped for it, but I'm also not like dreading it. Like I'm like, okay, I'm interested, I want to see this. I'm not really holding out hope it'll be that good, but maybe it'll be like okay at least.
yeah, this is a Blumhouse film, and tell me what you think of this price point, Tim, because this is
Okay.
interesting. So this was this I think presumably was going to be a theater release when they were making it originally, but obviously everything in the world happened, and they've changed their minds and said, okay, we'll put this in VOD. And so it's kind of a premium VOD, though. So it's a $20 rental, right? So to go along with kind of other things they did earlier this year with Invisible Man and stuff like that. But the interesting part to me here is that so you can have a 48-hour rental for $20, or you can just buy it for 25.
Actually, I think that's pretty good. I want to say Bill and Ted, I think, did the same thing, or I don't know if it's the exact same price point, but I think it was like roughly similar.
Yeah, it was the idea. It was just $5 more to buy it, so it was like, well, you might as well just get it for keeps.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's totally fine. I don't buy a lot of movies digitally because if I am gonna buy something, I usually want like a, like a nice physical copy. But I mean, something like this, yeah, I could see myself doing that where it's like, okay, I probably won't care about this enough that I want to watch special features, but who knows, like a couple of years down the line, like, I might want to revisit it. So I think the extra $5 is fine.
Yeah, it's tough to swallow for me for like spending that in a movie you've not seen yet. Like it's one thing if you're like,
Yeah.
right, okay, it's the new, I don't know, Christopher Nolan movie. You know you're a big Christopher Nolan fan, so you don't necessarily feel like you're taking a risk with buying it. But
Sure.
when it's something like this where it's such an unknown quantity and you're saying yourself you don't know how to feel about it, you're kind of excited, but it's a little bit more weird to do it in that case. But hey, like I say, I would probably buy a lot more movies digitally if they up the bit rates. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
more bit rates, people. More bit rates on streaming and digital rentals and stuff. But, that's it. Every so often I do check the 4K section of the Amazon sales and stuff for the digital stuff. So, but hey, that is the news. That pretty much wraps us up. Lero, last year when we did these news episodes, we talked about anything we were watching. Now, Tim, unfortunately, has got such an obscenely ridiculous goal for what he wants to watch this year. He's aiming for 150 movies in October, which is quite frankly unhealthy. I think we actually have to hold an intervention to stop him from doing something this silly. But it does mean that there's no way in hell I'm going to sit here and listen to everything Tim has been watching in the week. Because on average, he should be watching like what? Like
5 movies a day.
That's 35 a week.
So I mean it's the only reason why because I always want to try to watch 100 movies, but and I usually don't end up doing it because like stuff usually comes up, even if I do have days where I watch more or whatever. But I mean, because of the pandemic, I don't really have anything else to do. So, other than the, like the 2 days a week where I have to go into work, or, once or twice once every 1 or 2 weeks where we pick up some groceries. I mean, we're mostly just stuck in the house. So, if we're stuck in there, why not just, constantly be watching movies?
All right. What's the highlight of the stuff you hadn't seen before? What's the highlight from this week? Obviously it's not been a full week of October, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let me see. I would say I've been doing like a lot of rewatches so far, but I mean I still have had some new ones. I've been going through. I have the like old Universal Blu-rays that are like, the Dracula collection and the Frankenstein one. So obviously I've seen all the originals, but I haven't seen a lot of the sequels. So I watched the Dracula's Daughter, Son of Dracula, and today, actually this morning when I got up, I actually watched House of Frankenstein, which I mean, obviously not as good as the originals, but I do think they are, kind of interesting and fun to varying degrees. House of Frankenstein I actually like a lot. It's like because it's like, it's kind of stupid, but like, it's just fun seeing like all the monsters like in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like I'm saying necessarily that that's like my favorite or anything, but that was definitely like one of the newer watches that stood out to me, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
That's fine. I've actually watched one movie so far that's not been for review.
Yeah.
And that movie was Cold Skin, which is
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Sort of a mare, not a merman, but like a aquatic creatures storming a lighthouse, and the crazy, it's kind of odd. Like, I was cracking lighthouse jokes constantly as I was watching it. It's kind of weird just how much you can kind of like compare the two of them, even though they're very different in every way, apart from the fact that they're a lighthouse and there's two main characters. But that was worth watching. It was an interesting watch. There was some
I watched that before, and I like the premise a lot. I think it definitely could have been better, but it was kind of cool.
No, it had an interesting tone. It took itself very seriously, which I kind of appreciated. It wasn't like a knock out the park though, by any means, but not a bad watch. Not a bad watch. So there you go. That is our first news episode of October. So by all means, let us know what you thought of the stories in the comments. Please do like and subscribe, all that stuff. Like is very important on YouTube. It helps us out and makes us, perform better on the algorithm, and more people will find us. So it's a nice, easy and free way to support everything we do and help keep all the content coming. You can support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonus for your trouble, including an exclusive extra review episode of Streams After Midnight every single month. There's a back catalogue now of about 25 plus movies, so you get access to all of those for that $1. So by all means, please go and check out that if you want to, get some more streams in your life. Streams after midnight, streams before midnight, streams in the morning, streams in the afternoon, whenever you want to stream. All the time. There you go. Guys on Twitter as well, at Streams Midnight. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you next time.